Folks, welcome to another in our series of total success trainings. And this one, because this is probably the most in-demand sporting icon in the world right now after a couple of weeks ago. So this is the only time we could get him, was on the Zoom, and I'm here in Perth. And Kev, you're coming in from Brisbane?
Yeah, I'm in from Brisbane. Yeah, looking forward to next week's show. It should be an awesome afternoon for everyone. Plenty of entertainment, and hopefully everyone will get something out of it as well. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. We had a great Origin series, obviously, with the Maroons this year, beating New South Wales again. So there's plenty to talk about, that's for sure.
Nice, mate. So let me I'll quickly share a screen there. I'll just sort of show that there's our guest today, Kev, and here is the event that Kev's talking about. That in Brisbane, we've got of course, the legendary Kevin Walters. In Sydney, Danny Green, Chris Judd in Melbourne, Matthew Pavlich, and so are the Hulk Palele in Perth, as well as a whole heap of people in our in our industry, Kev, the real estate industry, being kind of legendary. But mate, I tell you, I saw a photo that my graphics guy put up, and it was just you, Danny Green, Chris Judd, and Matthew Pavlich. And I thought, Jesus, that is one bunch of blokes I wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley if they were cranky.
Yeah, look, there's some tough boys there. I didn't do a lot of my work is not the physical side of it, but those boys, the other guys, Danny Green, well, what a legend he's been for Australia in the boxing world, and the other two sensational AFL stars. So, yeah, some great talent on show, and no doubt plenty to say as well. So it should be very exciting.
Yeah, I spent some time with Chris Judd a couple of days ago, and we did an interview kind of like this. And mate, he's an interesting cat. That the headspace side of it, is his whole game. He's very much a thinking man's player, and certainly you've seen that in your career as well.
Yeah, well, you have to be a bit three-dimensional in all sports if you're going to be successful. I mean, you've got to look outside the square on a lot of things that go on. Nothing is easy. Anything that is difficult in life, you've got to put a lot of work into. And be very courageous as well with some of your decision making and some of your planning. So I guess these are the things that get you on the pathway to success, and that's what we'll be speaking about on Monday. It's as I say, I'm very excited to be coming in and sharing some of my thoughts and some of my ideas on culture and building a successful team.
Mate, yeah, and you've certainly done that. And mate, let me take you back. See, I'm 45, bud, and in my early 20s, I don't even know when, it was so long ago, but I remember somehow, and the security back then in 1992, they need a smack on the bum, because somehow me and my mates in our early 20s somehow snuck into the players function at Broncos after you guys got on the plane, got back to Brizzy, and somehow you guys let me into that function with a couple of mates. And mate, the atmosphere there was incredible. Take us back to 92 when that first Broncos premiership winning side.
Wow, yeah, that was amazing times for people of Brisbane, and certainly ourselves as well. At the time, myself, Alan Langer, and Kerrod Walters had put a song out as well, "Hey Hey" with the Broncos, which was racing through the charts, which we couldn't believe. But getting back to Brisbane that night after the premiership win, I mean, the people of Brisbane just supported us in numbers. We were in town; they gave us a key to the city, and then we went back to our training venue, and there were thousands of people there as well to greet the team. This would have been 10 o'clock at night by the time we got back there. And yeah, we had a bit of an after party as well, and everyone and anyone was invited and could come in. That was the thing, I guess, in those days, when you had success, and still to this day, it affects people's lives so dramatically in all areas. And I guess people want to be a part of that, and they certainly were a part of it, because our fans were second to none. They showed up in their thousands to welcome us. Yeah, there's some pictures there from the Broncos in those early days, and a great team, full of courage, and we had some wonderful years as well, success-wise with premierships, and we went overseas and won some World Cups as well. So it was a great period for our side and the Broncos.
Yeah, I remember even at that little player, because there were thousands of people in the main area of the Broncos, and then there was that little players function thing in there, and even bloody Wayne cracked a smile, mate. I tell you, grumpy old Wayne, even he had a smile on his dial.
Yeah, look, Wayne does. He loves success and enjoying the wins as well. I mean, his way of enjoying that's probably a little bit different to other people in the way they go about it. But certainly, I think it's a big thing to enjoy when you do achieve something in life, whether it be a premiership or a certain game or something else. In the business world, it's important to enjoy that moment and really take it all in, because, you know, the next day when you wake up, it's a new world again and things start to change. So you've got to enjoy the big times and the good moments, because that's what they're there for.
Geez, if there was a training day that next day, mate, that would not have been pleasant.
No, there was no training day. It wouldn't have been too nice. But, yeah, it was good times. I think it's important, and I think it gets lost in a lot of areas when you don't enjoy your success as well as you should. And it's not about going out and doing all the stuff it's just about sitting back and taking it all in and enjoying what was a great year for the Broncos.
It's interesting, mate. Chris Judd said that he has never yet watched in review any of his grand final wins. He's never watched the game ever, and it's almost like he kind of only in his later years is he even reflective about the wins. But he's still never watched the game. You ever? I suppose as a coach, you've got to watch the wins, don't you?
I watch them for every year. I place them on tapes now and get them out. And and it's not about living in the past either. I think they were great moments, certainly in my life, and historical moments for a Broncos point of view as well. And me personally, some great achievements. And I love to look back and reflect, but also have a keen eye on what's in front as well. I mean, the Origin series this year, 2 or 3 weeks ago now, but still firmly in my mind, every time when my head hits the pillow, I'm thinking still about Origin and the great team that we had. And when I wake up in the morning, it's certainly not far from my thoughts at the moment. Obviously, those memories will fade, but certainly the achievement of this year's team it has been a highlight for me from my career so far, definitely.
Yeah, nice, mate. What was the transition like from being an iconic player yourself, you're 5'8" for the Broncos, premierships and all of that legendary stuff, and then, going to assisting in the coaching world and then taking on the head job? Tell us about that little journey going from being great at doing it to having to pass on those intricacies to your crew.
Yeah, well, it's funny because there's no such thing for mine as overnight success. I finished playing in 2001. And for the next, 16 years, I've been coaching, chipping away at all different levels of the game, both here, overseas, down in Melbourne with the Storm. I went back to lower level competitions to improve my skills. So it's all about really hard work and getting the adequate skills to get where you are. And then when you do get to this position, I guess you've got to be a little bit brave too. And we made some tough calls this year around certain players who had great Origin careers, but at the end of the day, I guess the most important thing is that the team itself and make good decisions around the performance of that team. So we made those, and it come through in the end, I guess, with a great series win. But there were some moments there where we sort of, not so much second-guessing ourselves, but questioning ourselves, were we doing the right thing here? And at the end of the day, we felt we were trying to do the right thing, myself and the selectors, to come up with a team that could win Game 2 and then, of course, Game 3, which was, I think, in my eyes, probably the best performance that Maroon's team has put in since I've been in charge in 6 games. It was a wonderful performance, very rewarding in many ways, and a lot of planning, a lot of strategic work went in, hard work, all of the things that brew in the pot to be a successful team.
One of the things, because a lot of our guys run teams themselves, they may not be a team of a full dozen or so blokes, but what's the go with, we understand that potentially if you've got the right ticker up here yourself, you can will a game over the line individually. How does someone as a leader in the team, whether it's as a player or as a coach, how do you will a bunch of blokes or ladies, of course, because we've got some of the ladies on tonight, how do we will an entire group over the line?
Well, I guess it's about taking responsibility of your performance as part of the team, regardless of how big your team is, if it's 2, 3, 4, 17 as it is in rugby league or greater numbers in the AFL. Everyone's got to take responsibility and ownership of their role within the team. I worked at a great club, the Melbourne Storm, and that's their philosophy, is firstly, know your job, and secondly, most importantly, do your job. And I think if everyone's doing that, everyone looks at leadership and thinks it's all at the top. Well, leadership filters all the way down. Everyone's got to own their position and their role within the team. And I know if you can get that happening, there are going to be some great results, and everyone can share in the joy then of what will be a successful organisation.
When you, and I know you're going to go into this, I'm sure in much more detail about some of the strategies and some of the head trip, some of the mindset things that take someone from good to great. But is there kind of anything that identifies, because everyone who gets to your level and they're playing for NRL, they're playing at State of Origin, they're playing for their country, etc. They've all got talent, and that's a given. But there's a difference between good and great. What do you think, mindset-wise, is that difference between good and great?
Well, I think talent will get you so far in any organisation or any sport or any business, but it's the things that you do away from that talent that have nothing to do with talent that'll get you over the line and get you the success that you need. You know, little things in rugby league and in most sports about just being professional, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, is reminding yourself everything that you're doing is about your performance on the weekend or your performance on the Wednesday night, as Origin is. So, you know, I think it's very critical that what you're doing away from training, you know, away from the games, really does set up success. And little things in rugby league, such as diet and doing those little extras, you know, that it's not talent that gets you, you know, past the post. It's all the hard work and all the little things that you do over the week and over the journey that will set you up for success.
Yeah,
100%. 100%.
I remember, I wish I could quote it because I bloody well should be able to, because it's a great quote, when Muhammad Ali said that all his wins were done outside of the lights. You know what I mean? It's all that stuff at 4 a.m. that's the reason he gets to win.
Well, that's right, and it's the effort that you put in. I mean, a good work ethic is something that all of us can have, but you've got to, you know, get that mindset about, you know, working hard. It doesn't always guarantee results, but it certainly puts you in a position to get some good results. And I think that's been the mentality, certainly of myself personally, through my playing career and now into my coaching career. Continually, you know, trying to find ways how to do things better. I mean, that's always been a key, as well as, you know, not doing things for the sake of doing things, but trying to do things and get them better every time you're out on the field, practicing, training, and working towards the ultimate goal of, you know, winning that game.
Nice, mate. Nice. Well, when you talk about, we talk a lot in this game about we practice and we model what we see from people who are doing well. So we're modeling. You know, we're seeing someone do something well. We go, let's do that. What's some of your take on modelling, you know, from a coaching perspective, some of the greats you've worked with, you know, like Wayne Bennett, like Mal Meninga, you know, do you model some of their tactics and then bring in your own? How does that process work?
Well, I think it's extremely important to be yourself. It's hard to copy someone else's culture. You can't do that. You've got to manufacture your own culture something that works for you. There's many ways to do things and be successful, but what you need to identify is what works for you. Now, in my early part of my career, I tried to be like Wayne Bennett. There's a picture there of myself and Wayne. Wayne's a totally different person and personality to what I am. So then I shifted my tack. I went to Melbourne and worked under the great Craig Bellamy for several years. And they're different people as well. Wayne and Craig are different people. So what I've done to try and forge my own way is take some ideas from those two guys that I think are very good and extremely useful to my personality, but you've got to put your own stamp on things in your own mentality. Mal Meninga is another one that, you know, really did shape this Origin team for the last decade. But I'm different to Mal again in many ways with different personalities. So I guess what you have to do is pick the good pieces that you can be successful in your mindset and put them to your own advantage. And I think now that I'm a little bit more experienced from, you know, when I first started coaching, you know, 10 or 12, 13 years ago, I think I've put it all together in a nice pot and using ideas from them as well as my own that are going to work for me in my own sort of way with the culture that we're trying to continue here with the Maroons, particularly State of Origin level.
Nice, mate. Hey, I remember back in, mate, I've put on a few kilos since, but back in those 90s, I used to wrestle with a bloke called Chris Haseman, and we used to go to his place there at Forest Lake.
Madman.
Mate, tell us about because sometimes he'd bring a few of the boys out to wrestle with us at his studio out at Carroll Park there, and he'd bring a few of the boys out there. Mate, you guys had some strong units, but how was that cross-training of wrestling in your sport?
Well, again, it's another not so much discipline, but it's something that can give you an advantage, you know, on game day. I remember Chris Haseman, and certainly I tried to resist wrestling him as much as I could.
Understandably.
He was quite physical. But again, these little areas where, you know, little parts of the game where Chris could be very helpful. You know, rugby league is a contact sport. There are many ways to get that contact right, and Chris was full of ideas, a great wrestling coach as such, and one of those guys that sort of never gave up either. He would wrestle to till exhaustion, basically. And I guess that mindset as well, when you put it in rugby league terms, is never giving up and continuing that full 80 minutes. And when you spend a training session with Chris, you walk away from there with the mindset of, gee, he never gives you an inch, this bloke. Right? Maybe that's what I need to do on the football field, and it's certainly true. I mean, it rings true. I mean, never giving up and fighting all the way till the end is a great character to have.
Yeah, he's a good bloke, Chris, and it's interesting that he's one of the only Aussies to get the call up to the UFC. He went over and fought in the States, and
a couple of fights, didn't he? Yeah,
and go ahead.
Yeah, look, his mentality. I mean, he was a fierce competitor, obviously, and he had a great career himself in that area. But it was just another world in there. How hard they trained and the physicality of it all. It was really you against them. Whereas team sports are a little bit different. You got 17 players, and certainly in rugby league, or even more extended squad to work with. So certainly that environment is more refreshing for me. I like the idea of relying on others to get the job done. That's what being part of a team is really working in together and being a little bit unselfish in a lot of your actions, which needs to be the case in a successful team and a successful organisation.
Mate, did Chris, and not to belabor the wrestling experience, because I used to wrestle and I've got a bit of a passion for it. So, but Chris's coach, did he ever bring Bill Turner down to mess with you guys?
Yeah. Turner,
oh, mate, what a machine! Hey?
Yeah, when Billy got hold of you, that was it. It was all over. Where's the tap? 1, 2, 3. I'm out of here. Yeah, Billy, way back in the early days of the Broncos, was the wrestling. Well, we went out, used to go to the police academy and do some training out there, different environment, and Billy was the master. No one challenged him out there. He was the kingpin. That's
mate,
for sure.
In my early 20s, mate, I was actually kind of strong, I suppose. Well, I thought I was. With all my mates, I was. But I tell you, every ounce of my strength, that's arms, that's legs, that's core, once Billy was posted, every part of me couldn't move one of his arms once he was posted. Not about.
No. Yeah, well, we used to get 2 into him and 3 players to try and wrestle him.
Couldn't budge him.
His core strength was so good.
Yeah.
He just knew how to position himself, strength wise, and he was a hard bugger to move. That's for sure.
He certainly was. Well, mate, I've got a few questions from some of the guys on the call here. Let me throw out the first one. Have you got any tactics? And I suppose, mate, in your world, you could probably be a little more blunt than in maybe some of our professional worlds. But one of the boys says about protecting their time from potential time wasters in an environment.
Yeah, certainly. I think time management is extremely important, particularly time away for players away from the training field or in their preparation. I think it's important that you get the right headspace. I mean, if we're all, certainly from a rugby league point of view, if you're all training all day, every day, that's not good for your mindset. I think one of our protocols in the Origin camp is to have some fun, enjoy what you're doing. And certainly we try to do that without overindulging in too many areas, but it's important to enjoy what you're doing and getting that right headspace, away from the training and away from rugby league, all those team meetings and the like. You've got to get away from that, refresh yourself, have another interest that really does rekindle your mind and get you driving again, get you hungry for more training as such. And yeah, it's important. I think the great leaders like Cameron Smith, Cooper Cronk, they've identified, and they're different species, certainly the way they prepare themselves. But Cameron's got a family and the like. Cooper's I think he's engaged at the moment, so their worlds are different, but away from the training field. But they've got the right ideas on how to get themselves ready for a big game, and I like that. The enjoyment factor for me is always a big one, away from the training venue.
Yeah, nice. Actually, one of the boys typed in before you jumped on, ask Kevy, how does Cameron Smith not break? There you go. So the question's there. How does Cameron Smith not break?
I think he's just so resilient. I just think that it's the way he's made up. I guess his parents, the way, he was born into this world. I've never seen anything like it. A player of Cameron, he cracked 350 yesterday for the Melbourne Storm, 350 NRL games.
Wow.
He's just short now of Darren Lockyer, which he will go past this year. So, I don't have an answer for that one, but I'm certainly blessed to have him in our side. He's an unbelievable rugby league player, but even better person. I think that's the overall character of Cameron. I've never met anyone really quite like him.
Mate, is it just because I've turned into a cranky old bastard, or is the character of the game changed a little bit? It seemed like you guys all were almost, or many of you guys, and I don't know if you had some larrikins, maybe some Wendell Sailors. He seemed to be a bit of a larrikin, but I don't know. There just seems to be less people that are composing themselves publicly, or are we just seeing a few bad apples in the media that are giving some bad names to you guys, or is there a shift?
No, I don't think there's a shift. From what I've seen, working with players over the last 10 years, they're still the same. They love the game, obviously, but away from the game, they like to enjoy themselves. I guess there's a lot more scrutiny and expectation on them now to behave themselves, no matter where they are or what they're doing, and that maybe take a little bit of the personalities out of the game. Certainly, the scrutiny that the players are under in all sports now at the high end is. With social media, everyone's got a phone in their pocket ready to take a snap of someone, So I guess they're very cautious of that and trying to keep a bit of a clean sheet more than anything else. But away from the game in their own environment, they still like to enjoy themselves, and that should be the way as well.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Actually, one of the boys was asking, again, it's a great question because, there was the dream run of the Maroons for, all those wins in a row, basically a decade of destruction, which was massive. And then, you picked up the reins, really, when your job was to remotivate when things didn't go to plan. How was that transition?
Oh, look, very exciting. I knew when I took on the role that, there were going to be some transition of our older players. And I knew that that was going to be part of my role as the Queensland State of Origin coach, is to make sure that transition was as smooth as possible. And we managed to do that this year. We still have some work to do. How do we do it? We have an emerging program with our players, and we introduce them to Origin without actually, the best thing other than playing a game of Origin is seeing the preparation of different players and how they go about their preparation. So we've got little plans in place around that. It worked out well for us this year, but we still had some key players like Cameron and Cooper, Billy Slater in the team. Jonathan Thurston didn't have a major role in this year's series, but moving forward to next year, we hope to still have Cameron and Cooper and Billy. But if they're not, well, we've got some plans in place around that. I think we've introduced a new group of Queensland players this year, and they will be the future of Origin. But we'll squeeze a bit more yet out of those older buggers just yet.
Nice, mate. Mate, what was it like when, what role were you playing and what was the thinking around? Remember when Alfie came back, when no one thought, he came back like years after and he came back for a run. What was the thinking there? And it turned out to be a win.
Yeah, look, that was a masterstroke from Wayne Bennett getting him back from England. He was playing in the English Super League. It was a very quiet scenario. Alan came back on a plane and no one sort of could believe that that was going to be the case, but he pulled it off. Alan was 34 years of age at the time and hadn't been playing top-level rugby league for about 18 months. So it was a bit of a gamble, to be honest, from Wayne Bennett and the Queensland staff to bring him in. But Alfie's a little champion. He's in that Cameron Smith mould, Darren Lockyer first, and he just came back and he just wowed them. It was quite an incredible performance from an old fellow like Alfie, but I guess you expect that from the greats. They just deliver when you least expect it. They come up with the trumps, and that was the case that night for little Alfie.
For sure, mate. Well, man, thanks so much for your time today, man. Really, I really can't wait till next week as well. Yeah. But listen, hey, do me a favour. I've asked this of all the guys. And when you think about what, because these are a bunch of business people hungry to get their heads right, hungry to get their skills right, hungry to get their tactics right. We've got a lineup of people to give them some various skills they can practice and some legends like yourself to teach them how to get from good to great. And we've kept the price not even enough to cover the cost of putting the event on. So if you were looking at that lens that you've got right there, and someone was sitting on the fence going, oh, I don't know, should I come, should I not? Let's just pretend that person just said that to that lens. What would you say to that person?
Well, I think you'd be silly to miss out on this opportunity. You're going to come in, you're going to get some good entertainment, and also you're going to walk away with something really special that's going to help you on your journey to success. I'd be disappointed if you didn't make the effort and come along and have a listen to what we've got to say. It's going to be a great afternoon.
There you go, mate. That's perfect. I'm going to chop that up, put it in a little. We got Soa Palele, right? He's Aussie UFC junior. He's like a Bill Turner. He's just a giant. And so I got all of them to look down the lens and give him a bit of what for, right? So because there's some stuff with technology now, mate. What you can do is if someone's visited the website but didn't buy a ticket, I'm going to put that compilation video into their newsfeed on Facebook. So we got all these legends getting up them saying, come on, what's wrong with you?
Get your ass down there. What's wrong with you?
There you go. See, that's the one I'm going to use. I'll use that one too. Nice, mate. Well, Kev, thanks so much for being part of this, man. It's really, as you can see, I'm a lifelong Brisbane fan. And, mate, it's a bit of a special treat for me to have someone like yourself come and join us, mate. Really appreciate it.
No worries, brother. Cheers. We'll see you next week. Get your ass down there. Come along. Let's go, Queensland.
See you, Kev. Thanks a million, my man.
Yeah.